Hello, this is the HAARP report, and I want to show you something. This is the Baja Peninsula here, and off the coast of Baja Peninsula, California, west coast of the U.S., there is this very strange little island called Isla Guadalupe, and I have maintained for years that there is a gigantic ionospheric heater, microwave weapon on this island, and since I haven't looked at these weather maps for 10 months or so, it seems like they have gotten really careless because I've seen this before with the microwave beam actually burning a hole through the clouds, but never to this extent. So I have put together a little slideshow and demonstrating where this destination goes. It's actually going to the Sea of Cortez here. You can see some really odd stuff in the clouds. And this temperature, water temperature is almost 90 degrees. And if I'll show you in a minute, the Gulf Stream is non-existent up here. So anything that bubbles up here is very likely to turn into a massive tropical depression. But it's also going to bring a lot of water to western Mexico, Arizona, maybe California, New Mexico. So let's look at what's happening. We can see this oscillation behind the island here, and that's just the normal turbulent flow. I'll let that play. But what we see here coming off on one side is a straight line that's stationary. On this side, this looks like some of this wake, atmospheric wake. You know, it's curved, it's moving around, and the NOAA Sweetland, Maryland software guys really thought that, look, it's already on that side, let's just leave it on this side, except that this one's not moving and it's perfectly straight. And it aims to the Sea of Cortez, where you're having a potential low pressure buildup. So let me show you the slideshow that I built. So the sea surface temperature here is, you can see it's sort of a dark red, and dark red down here is like 88, 80, or 90 degrees. Just really intense heat right here in that water. And there's no jet stream overhead. If we look at the 300 millibar, 300 millibar, there's really nothing. This is about 30,000 feet up. And you can see these isobars are really far apart. There is no wind aloft whatsoever. So I'll just step through, and here's at September 8th, 2046, and I just drew in a red dashed line to represent what's happening over here and where that line's going. Here you can see a dashed line going off to the strange area of disturbance there, and it's terminating where I think they're heating the ionosphere right here, where you see these really strange cloud movements right there. And then a few minutes later, 5 minutes later, they've moved the beam just very slightly, and you can actually see some circular shapes in the clouds here. A few minutes later, 5 minutes again, seem that they've moved it again. And actually there's a second one. Let me back up. So here we have two straight lines through the clouds, each of them pointing to a disturbance over the Sea of Cortez. So there's the lower one to the south, there's the upper one, and we have just a rough, I mean, this circle could be placed anywhere along this line, but I guarantee you it's going to be right here over this super warm water. And a few minutes later, well, no, now a few minutes later is this 20 minutes later. Still have the same line. They've moved it slightly. And just as a rough guess, here's where the ionospheric heater, the downdraft, is happening. And possibly we'll see in the next slide, 5 minutes later, some circular rings meaning that they're heating the ionosphere several miles up. It expands explosively and impinges downward on the top of the jet stream, which then pushes down on the troposphere. And what we see are these expansion rings, outflow boundaries, roll clouds, whatever you want to call them. A few minutes later, this is 5 minutes later, we still have the straight line. This is not a wake. On the other side, here's the wind wake, or whatever you want to call it. So again, and here's a real nice example of concentric circular rings expanding outward. You can see it over this peninsula here. And okay, so we go from 2126, and I just arbitrarily picked these wherever I saw a pretty good line I could pick out. 2126, so this is 30 minutes later. 26 to 06, no, that's 40 minutes later. Here's our line, a little bit worn out here, a little ragged. And here's the estimated ionospheric heater destination. Okay, so now here's 5 minutes later. We have it moved again. And some nice concentric rings here. Kind of low res, but still you can see. And from 2241 to 036, that's about 30 minutes. Another one, and more concentric lines. So they worked on this spot all day long, heating the ionosphere. And unfortunately, to do that, you have to blow all that expanding gas through the ozone layer. So all the plankton in this area is now exposed to lethal ultraviolet B, and it dies in just a matter of minutes, maybe hours. And it's absolutely unknown how long it takes the ozone layer to recover. But you can see it's stunning that here's a stationary straight line pointing to a disturbance, very strange disturbance in the clouds. And then once you put it all together, it makes perfect sense. So one more thing, that we know what we're looking at, I'm going to let this video run so everybody can see this effect with their own eyes. It's quite amazing. So this is September 8th, daybreak, and here's the line in question. It's straight, it's stationary, sometimes it doubles up to aim to the north. And what's equally odd, and you know it's pointing right over here, what's equally odd is the behavior of these clouds here. Clearly this is just extreme rising thunderstorms, and look what happens. It's like somebody blew a puff of air down it's like you had a bunch of candles burning here and you blew down on them and blew them out. That's exactly what they're doing here. So to me, this is really compelling proof of ionospheric heaters being used in violation of all kinds of UN treaties to shut down agriculture in Mexico and to maintain the Southern California drought. And you know, the stunning thing about this right here is we see in the morning this incredible strong convection because this water's 90 degrees and there's no wind shear aloft to smear these storms out. Okay, these are just really tall thunderheads that are building. They have nothing to stop them. There is nothing to stop them. They would just build and bring a ton of rain, and if it ever spins up and organizes, then yeah, you could have a hurricane that travels up this Sea of Cortez. But instead of bringing rain to this agricultural part of Mexico, it's hit with this microwave weapon, and it just absolutely disappears when there's no reason for it. I mean, meteorologically, I don't know why that would happen, because there's all that potential energy and all that humidity. So one final slide. This video is strong verification that Isla Guadalupe has a gigawatt microwave transmitter that is routinely violating the United Nations Environmental Modification (ENMOD) Treaty, preventing rain in western Mexico, Arizona, California, New Mexico, and West Texas. And it's a crime. It's a crime, and we have a lot of evidence for it. Thank you for watching. From me, the HAARP Report.